Hey, BassGeek here, and we know April showers bring May flowers, but it also brings a big transition when we start talking about bass fishing. Let's talk about that. All right, geeks, that's right. May is a transition month where I'm at. I'll be interested to hear what it's like where you're at too. So make sure in the comment section down there you leave a comment telling me a little bit about what May is like in your area. So I'm going to give you my favorite. Remember, sometimes these aren't the best, but they're my favorite ways to catch bass in May. So my favorite top 5 ways to catch bass in May, and that's what I'm going to show you right here. But let me do a little bit of explaining first. So in my area, what happens a lot of times is we've got the spawn, and the spawn will happen depending on the temperature and the moon and all that. It will happen a lot of times mid-April to early May. So say like middle of April to the first 2 weeks of May. Sometimes, depending again on the weather, even well into May, and depending on which lake and how far south or north you are, all that can move around a little bit. For the most part, it is transition. It is transition from the spawn to the post spawn to the summer. So what does that mean? What it means is that you have to be ready to transition with them to catch them. And it's always important to be ahead of that transition instead of behind it. So let me show you what I do to stay ahead of those big girls while they're moving. So we're going to start with number 5, and we're going to start with number 5 because in May, this for me begins to go away more and more. And I'm going to use this a lot when it comes to either bass that are still on the bed, maybe some pre-spawners that are left over or a late spawn, or even some fry garden. And that's worms of any sort. Now, I'm going to rig these in a lot of different ways, from Texas rig to shaky head, wacky rig. I mean, there's a ton. Free rig, you name it, we're going to rig these every way imaginable to get these bites. So, of course, one of the very first is going to be a stick bait. There's a ton of stick baits out there, but the traditional stick baits are the ones that I'm really going to talk about using. I'm experimenting with some new stick baits that I'm really excited about that I've just found this year. But the 2 go-tos for me right now is, of course, going to be the Gary Yamamoto Cinco. I mean, this thing is great. It's heavy. It's going to fall quickly. I'm going to be able to fish this a little bit deeper, even though it's not going to last very long. Next up is going to be the Yum Dinger. Now, I like these because they're a little more durable. They're going to have a slower fall rate, and they come in some really good colors. Both does, but one thing that I love to have is some variation in flake. Now, I fish a lot of clear water, so that means I'm going to throw a lot of green pumpkin, watermelon, some natural colors. But this time of year, based on the rig or just the mood of the fish, I do like to have a good shad color too. That can always get you some bites when you're talking about those fry garters or those bass on the bed. This color here is called Green Pumpkin Sprinkle. I love this because it's got a lot of your panfish style colors in it. This is called Quartz Candy, and it's a great clear water shad imitator. Now, these are kind of my straight tail Texas rig, finesse style, shaky head, Nico rig style worms here. These are the worms that I'm going to use with those types of rigs, maybe even some drop shot rigs, especially if I'm fishing for some fry garters. A drop shot and fry garters, you get it up off there just a little bit, depending on how deep those bass are, it can be deadly. This is one of my favorite straight tail worms. This is the Yum Finesse worm, and this is in one of my favorite colors. This is Ghillie Suit. This is another one, just as the name implies. It's got a lot of those panfish colors in it, and that really ticks them off on the bed. Wacky rigged or drop shot, just whatever you can think of. And the Haymaker from J-Bros. You guys, if you haven't seen this video, you need to go back and watch it. I talk about one of my favorite ways to rig this up, and it's one of the hot ways right now that a lot of Bassmaster Elite and MLF pros are using live scope to win tournaments when the bass are up shallow and they're Nico rigging these ultra thin finesse worms. We got underwater footage of it and everything. It's really an incredible little worm, a haymaker by J-Bros. And I think this is green pumpkin purple. And this little baby right here is a new worm that I've been using from Realis, Duo Realis, I know most of you guys have heard of. And I'm gonna read this the way it is spelled. I'm gonna show this to you. It is Wriggle Crawler. So this is a straight tail worm by Realis that is, it has multiple shapes on it, like it's thinner up here. And you know, it's got some really interesting, it's got a wide tail, a bulbous tail, and a kind of a flat spot here in the middle. It's designed like that for a lot of different reasons, and it's to give it a really unique fall action. I've been just straight Texas rigging it, but you can drop shot it. It's really great wacky rigged or Nico rigged. It's designed to do a lot of different things and have some really unique fall. This, I believe, is one of my favorite colors, and this is green pumpkin blue flake. Guys, I'm going to tell you, we have got some really cool baits that we're going to be doing some how-tos on from some companies that are part of the Duo Realis raid group. So I can't wait for you all to see some of this stuff. Now, number 4 is a category that I love to throw this time of year, and the reason why I love to throw it is because of the shad spawn. So shortly after the bass finish up their thing, or you know, right as it's at the tail end of it, a lot of times the shad are pulling up and they're going to start spawning, and that turns on those big girls. They like to get up there and feed on those shad. There's 2 baits, there's a lot of different baits, but there's 2 baits that I really love to throw that time of year. And one is I'm just going to call it the blade baits, but not necessarily the chatterbait style blade baits. I'm talking about a variation of spinnerbait style bait. And one of my very favorites is got to be, and the reason why is because it's so versatile. It's one of the most versatile spinner baits in my opinion on the market, which is the Omega. Now what's great about this is, yeah, you can change this blade, but a lot of times it's super hard to change this blade. You've either got to bend this or cut this off and go without it completely. But Omega has come up with a little clasp here. And so all you have to do to change or take this off is turn it around like such, and it pops off. And you can put whatever color blade or whatever style blade you want back on. Again, all you have to do is thread it and pop it back in. That's one of my favorite things, and they do make interchangeable skirts, I do believe, with these. Yes, interchangeable skirts. So you can take one spinnerbait and make it into who knows how many. Another great spinnerbait, and this thing is made with top-notch parts, and that is Pulse Fish Lures spinnerbait. Listen, if you want a good quality spinnerbait that's put together in the USA, this is your spinnerbait right here. They make some incredible ones. The ones that's got the orange kickers on them, they sell a ton of those. But they make some really incredible spinnerbaits, good quality spinnerbaits. This is a little bit heavier version that I like to get down. This is actually a Douglas Cherokee Special right here, color. And I think this is a 5/8 ounce, so it's a little bit heavier. Next up, you geeks know, if you fish clear water like me, you better have a War Eagle on hand. This is one of my favorite little War Eagles. Now, trailers on this, a little tough, but this is a super finesse little bait, but it's super heavy. This is a 3/4 ounce little bait. What I like is that they run a lot of the weight out the hook shank, so they can keep this thing extremely small, but still have it very heavy. Again, a 3/4 ounce. When you fish these highlands reservoirs like me, it's important to have a great little bait like this. Love this little bait. And something about War Eagle, to be such an affordable spinner bait, they actually wire tie their skirts on. Last but not least, you have to put Nichols in there. Look at this. I mean, Nichols is famous for its spinner baits and its big spoons. This is their compact spinner bait. It is a great, small, compact little spinnerbait, great skirt design, which I believe you can also change out with pre-builts that they have. Nichols just does spinnerbaits right, if you don't know. Another great little spinnerbait for the shad spawn. Now we're still in number 4. I know this is a lot, but this is also some of my very favorite baits and have really become some of my extremely favorite baits when it comes to shad spawn and panfish spawn, which also begins to happen in late May. So this, I love this because I can throw anything I want. Now you'll say, okay, what's the difference? The difference really is the wire that holds the blade and a small blade. What that does is cause a lot of action. We talk about, anybody that really knows spinner baits, we talk about how much more action a light wire gives us when we're retrieving our spinner bait. Well, this, I believe, is a titanium wire, and you get some crazy action. You can even upsize the blade just a touch, but you can also put a lot of different things on. And in clear water, you can put on a straight tail, and it's unbelievable. But the top spin from First Gen is incredible during the shad spin. They also make a version they call Flash X, the top spin Flash X, and they come with skirts. Now they make this color in the ones that come to top spin that don't have a skirt on them, but I love these when the bluegill are up on the bed. Now last but not least, I love a bunch of underspins. Now, if we're going to talk about a top spin, we're going to talk about a spinnerbait. When it comes to the shad spawn, we've got to talk about an underspin. These are probably my two go-to. Now I know Big Daddy Baits makes an incredible underspin along with a few other companies out there. There's some really good ones out on the market. The ones that I really like, because they're a little more versatile, are like this, which is the Ledgehead Tennessee River Bling. You geeks have seen me use this for years. I love it because it's got a really heavy duty wire right here. So you can put really some fat baits on and get that blade away. But you can also do a little trick with a few things. There's videos about it. You can go check that out later. This is a 1/2 ounce Tennessee River Bling from Ledgehead. Now, for those of you that like to fish big soft plastic swim baits, trust me, go look up theirs. They make them all the way up to, I think, 1 ounce and maybe even 1 3/8 ounces in an underspin. And if you've never thrown an underspin, a big underspin for big bass, you don't know what you're missing. And when I want to get crazy finesse, I'm absolutely going to throw the Pulse Fish Lures underspin. This is my finesse bait. I'm going to throw it on a straight tail. I'm going to use it a lot of times when I'm scoping. I'm going to use it a lot of times when I'm around ultra small bait fish and I need to get those spooky bass to bite. I mean, I throw everything from the Yum FF Sonar minnow to the Mickey Armor shads on this. I use this for a lot of different reasons. So now we're moving on to category number 3. All right, I know these ain't the top 5 baits individually, but these are the top 5 categories of bait. I just like to throw so much. Like, I am truly, again, shout out to my guys, Tackle Junkie and Debo's Fish, and I am truly a tackle junkie. And that's really where these two baits come in. Now, I love, and I call these the jigs of Topwater all the time. And these are my 2 favorite topwater baits when it comes to the shad spawn or stealthy situations. And that's going to be Big Daddy Baits Hair Buzzer. I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not, links in the description to everything, by the way. But what I love about this is, number one, that hair really has a good pulsating. You can put anything you want on the trailer. But what I really love about this is the diversity of it. And that's one thing that I always look for in baits. How many different things can I tweak? Can I change? Can I add? This thing is super subtle until you bend that down and you can get a great clacking sound. You can bend it up just a little bit and voila, it's good, finessey, not throwing off a lot, not a huge blade. You bend it back down and you're going to get that clacker sound as it comes through the water. And you can adjust it for a little bit or for a lot of clack. The hair itself is extremely subtle, but you can put a grub, a toad, anything you want on this to get the action you want, that secondary action. I like the diversity of this little bait. Next, and probably what is now my favorite buzz bait, especially in clear water conditions. Now, I've got the black blade right now. They do make them in gold, which is one of my favorites in clear water conditions. But that is from Omega, the Alpha Shad buzz bait. Now, they do make them with skirts on them. This is the one without a skirt. I prefer to be able to put soft plastics on. This has a double blade. Now, what's great about that is you would think it's a much louder buzz bait, but it's actually the contrary. It's a super subtle buzz bait that throws one heck of a bubble trail. Me and my son-in-law, he was throwing a spinner bait and I was throwing a buzz bait yesterday. And, you know, it was impressive to me how subtle and how slow this bait can be reeled. Like right now, to keep it extremely subtle in this ultra clear water that I've been fishing, this is a menace grub from Rage, and it's just got some great action. And all that's doing is giving it a little bit of flap and a little bit more lift. But you can reel this so slow, it's impressive. I like this little cone, comes through grass real well, and notice how it drops down. That's going to really raise your hookup ratio. And that's one of the few things about a buzz bait that you tend to have problems with, is them staying pegged. So that little drop, and I'll even give it just a little bit bend lower. That way she's coming through just like that. And you're not going to miss or lose as many bass. This is quickly becoming my very, very favorite little subtle, what I would call finesse buzz baits. Now, if we're going to talk about topwater this time of year, we got to talk about a floating worm, which is sort of kind of topwater, I guess, but not really. But anyway, we're going to put it in the topwater section. It says floating worm in the name. We know that the best way to fish a floating worm is to have it sink subtly. And some of my favorites have got to be the Z2, man. This thing, I got a little, I think it's a little TRD Ned in there, but in this color right here, the pink, the smallmouth, the spots, love this thing. But the Z2 on a nice heavy hook, Texas rig, weightless, man, this thing is devastating. Next up, I got to give my guy at Bass Munitions a shout out. This is the methylate worm. I'm telling you, he makes them in pink. He makes them in methylate. You need to go get you some of these Bass Munitions. I want to say hey to my buddy Richard. I ain't got to talk to him in a long time. I know he's working and he's busy, but he did sell the company. Great guy who owns it now. But this is absolutely one of my favorite floating worms, and it's made by Bass Munitions, a local guy. And really one of my top secret worms. This one's made by Bass Pro Shops. Now, you can find another one. There's actually one that I like a little bit better than this. I don't remember the name of it right now. I don't have any. But again, links will be in the description of this. This is a sherbet worm. This is an incredible little worm that I have caught a ton of bass on. But this is the tournament series by Bass Pro Shops. We're going to talk about May. We're going to talk about 3 topwaters for me very specifically. Now, this is my go-to pearl melon. You guys know I love the one knocker, the head and spook, and it's, you know, it's great. It's probably more so A little bit later in the year, a little more summer, this will do great against the bank, calling up those fish. I like another one a little bit better that I'll show you right now. And that's this. This is the Heddon Boyo. This thing, boy oh boy, is incredible. It is small, it is compact, it will cast a mile though. It weighs as much as I think the Spook Junior does. And this is one of my favorite colors in May. This is baby bluegill. Last but not least in the topwater game, you know I have come to love this little bait right here. This is the Prank, and as I say, it is a prank, but it ain't no joke. I know it looks crazy, but this lip, what I love about this is you can pop it. Now it's not a great walking bait. I haven't been able to walk it real well at all. But what I do and am able to do with it is pop it, let it sit, give it a few cranks or give it a rod sweep, and this thing will dive. And it has an incredibly wide action as it swims through the water. And when it stops and floats up and you give it another little pop, they destroy this thing. It is incredible, incredible during the shad spawn and when the bass are guarding fry. Now we're up to number 2, and late in May, mid-May, toward the end of May, the bass have spawned, the big girls have moved out, the shad spawn's over or waning, and it's time to get out there when they're going to be as deep as they'll be all year and catch them on the next 2, number 2 and number 1. This one could easily be number 1 for me. You could interchange these 2, but number 2 is going to be big deep diving crankbaits. This is from Strike King, good old traditional 10XD, like the 6XD, the 8XD, like these. Love to get out there and crank these big old crankbaits for big old bass. This one is going to dive up to 25 feet. This is one of my favorite colors on a certain lake when it gets cloudy. But the 10XD by Strike King is an absolute go-to for me. Now this is a new one that I've only been using for a couple years. These are by Mega Bass. These are the Big M 7.5s. This one will go 30 feet. Look at that crazy bill on there. Nice tight wiggle though, but it dives very, very vertical. Good looking baits, a lot of good different colors. We all know Mega Bass makes some great stuff. And probably what has become one of my go-tos over the years, and that is going to be the Profound Outdoors Azuma Z-Boss series. This is the Z-Boss 27. This is the biggest one. It will dive. I can get this to 30 plus feet pretty easily. Love this natural color, very translucent. This thing gets bites like crazy during May. This is their whole lineup of crankbaits, guys, and you've seen me talk about their lipless crankbaits. You need to go check them out. They're pretty amazing. But you need to check out the Z-Boss line of crankbaits for sure from Profound Outdoors. Now, on to number 1. Number 1 for me, I just love catching these bass when they're out there suspended, when they first move out. They're, trying to recuperate. We've been doing this for years. Been doing it without forward-facing sonar, but that is throwing these big chunks of metal like the Nichols Ben Parker series spoons. Now, you don't have to throw the big ones. Sometimes I love to throw the Mojo spoons, the smaller Nichols spoons. These things are great when they're up shallower. We're gonna show some stuff this summer that I haven't been wanting to show you guys, but as the pros begin to adapt to forward-facing sonar, something that we've been doing now for a few years, we've got some tricks up our sleeves, and this little puppy is one of them. Along with, if you paid attention to any of the fishing videos last year, so was this. This is also a Nichols spoon. It's just got a crank wrap on it. So you want to talk about something to use with forward-facing sonar? Sure, this will work, but these work a lot more. All right, geeks, that is my top 5-ish, 2,500, I don't know. Anyway, that is some of my favorite things and favorite ways to fish in Maine. I don't always get to do all of them. Sometimes, you know, the bass fishing dictates what I'm going to do. And sometimes I'm on different lakes where some of those don't apply. So you guys tell me what some of your top 5 ways in May. What is your favorite May bite? At least tell me that. What are you most looking forward to? What is the way you're going to catch them or you expect to catch them in May that you love to do year in, year out? All right. As always, questions and comments in the comment section below. Like I said, tell me your favorite way to catch them in May or what you think is going to be your favorite. If you haven't caught them in May, tell me what you plan or how you plan to catch them in May. And as always, like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you geeks ring that bell. 100% Watch Squad. You guys are awesome. And as always, you geeks, every one of you, you geeks rock.